In this video, we're going to demonstrate how you can use FastTrack Automation Studio's SmartConnect technology. SmartConnect is a small utility that will detect when a user reconnects either to a Citrix session or to a Microsoft RDP session via the RDC client. So we're going to show you how we can detect that, and then once we detect it, we can have something programmed to be done to the endpoint. Example we'll give today will be creating a printer menu so that if they change locations because they moved, they can say, now I'm at this location, so give me those printers. That could also be done automatically. We'll have a little splash screen pop up which will show you the location they're at, and then in order to do that, we're actually going to write a registry key and check for that registry key and then display that to the end user. We're going to use FastTrack's logon wizard, and the way we're going to do that is we're going to go ahead into the logon script wizard. We're going to set up new. When we set up new, this is going to put FastTrack files up into the net logon folder. Right now that's empty. You probably have files up here because you have your own process, or if you're using FastTrack for logons, you would have your FastTrack files up here. So we're going to show you how you're going to add a really simple logon script, and then when we're all done, we'll go to GPO, and we'll have your end users point to that logon script, which is going to kick off SmartConnect. And you can either do that as FastTrack only or in parallel with whatever logon process you're using right now, and I'll show that to you in just a minute. So this is our wizard to get us started to build a brand new logon script, so go ahead and say next. This is our builder. We can use this to configure the logon process, and we can actually use this builder to configure any script, and we're going to do that when we modify the SmartConnect script. So the first thing I want to do is I want to remove all of the options that are pre-configured when you open up FastTrack for the first time, because I don't want anything to happen other than the SmartConnect to kick off. So I'm going to turn everything off here, and then I'm going to go into settings, and you'll notice here that we have an option called SmartConnect. So I'm going to go ahead and run that, which will add it to our logon process. You'll find links throughout our product that gives you further explanation of how the technology works, so you can click on that. It'll take you out to our web page and show you the SmartConnect and more information that you can find there. So the last thing I need to do is, by default, we always connect the home share. I just want this to be as clean as possible, so I'm just going to go ahead and take that off. So now the only thing we're doing is we're going to run SmartConnect on the endpoints. We're going to go ahead and leave the recommended default. At this point, FastTrack's asking you if you want to put these newly created files up in the netlogon folder. So I'll go ahead and do that. And so you can see that we've placed that up there. And then in the fishbin folder is where we store our scripts. And in there is where you'll see the SmartConnect script, which we're going to program in just a minute. So we'll finish this process out. These are some descriptions of things we recommend you do when using FastTrack to your environment. This is a one-time setup. I'll leave this to you to read later. And we'll go ahead and move forward and finish up the logon process. This is a recommendation as to how to test. So pick a user, point them to the ftlogon.exe, which is up here in the netlogon folder. You're going to point them to this, and that's what's going to kick off this process. When you're all done, then you want to go into your GPO and use this setting here, and I'll show that to you in just a minute. So now we're all finished, and it's a real basic script. It's going to run real quick. User logs on. It's going to install SmartConnect. All done. Now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and configure the SmartConnect script file so that we can have it do whatever it is we want to do. And in the example I mentioned earlier, we're going to put up a printer menu, and then we're going to set a registry key and then display what your location is. So the way we do that is we're going to go back in and we're going to use the script builder. We're going to edit our logon script, which will be pointing to what we just built up in the netlogon folder. And what we want to do then is we're going to want to switch to the SmartConnect script file. And the way we do that is right now we're pointing to pre-logon. So what we're going to do is go down here. We're going to open up a script, and then we'll go into the fishbin folder, which is where it defaults to. We'll list all files, and you'll see there is our SmartConnect. Now this is a blank. This will be a blank script file when you open it up. I've gone ahead to save time and pre-configured it, and I'll show you what I've done is I'm going to go ahead and put a company name in here. I'm going to give it a logo in case we do any splash screens in which we want to display the logo, and it's just as simple as navigating to it. And then at that point in time, I want to do two things. I want to create registry settings, and then I want to create this printers menu. So we have two options. You can either use typical AD rules and conditioning and so forth. So if a member of or in a certain location via IP scope, whatever that might be, you can map printers. In our example, I'm actually going to create a menu that's going to pop up in front of the end user. And what we do is we basically just do an add new, and what will come up is this display. Give the name of the location, so we'll call it lobby. We've got one printer in lobby, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to post that. and that's all we have to do. You'll notice at the top, I am disconnecting all printers so that as people move around, they don't get a big buildup of printers in their device area. So we're going to clean all that up. And then I'm also going to drop a desktop, or an icon, I should say, on the desktop that allows an end user to manually change their locations if they need to do that for whatever reason. What you should be thinking about is this menuing type process could be used for any type of control, and if we don't want to use a menuing type process, we can have it automated. So the rules that we're going to apply in a minute with the registry, you can apply to any of these types of settings, specifically if you're looking at using UNC paths and AD rules to map your printers. So I did one more location called the accounting floor. So I'm just going to go ahead and add 2 printers. The way we work is printer listed first will always be default. So if you had 10 printers here, the first one would be default. So whatever printer you need to be default, you can just move it up and down and get it into the first position. So I've gone ahead and configured a print menu option that the user is going to get, that SmartConnect is going to kick off when the user changes locations. So now we're going to go ahead and create 2 registry entries. The first is going to be one that is basically going to place a registry key that we're going to make up called location, and in the first IP scope range we're going to make that location the lobby location. So we'll go ahead and say OK. Now you're going to come into our AD conditioning area, and I'm going to choose computer must be in an IP scope, and I've defined that IP scope to be 50 to 55, which is my lobby area, and in that lobby area I have certain printers. So back on the menuing issue, is you could have this set up that instead of kicking off the printers menus, we could just map those printers automatically. That's really, this is just the purpose of showing you the possibilities of the product. I went ahead and created a second situation where we're going to map the location in registry to be accounting, and again we're going to go give that an IP scope, and well, this will be a slightly different scope because this is my accounting area, and that's going to place, and then we'll display this information. Now the way we're going to display this information to the end user is I created a custom line in our SmartConnect script, and it basically just says show me a message and show me what the value of that location key is, so that way we can just see during this demonstration that we've moved between the lobby and the accounting area. That's it. SmartConnect is done. It's been configured, so all we have to do is save it, and then once we close it out, we can go ahead and run FastTrack at the logon. Now one thing I wanted to show you is that you would have noticed that we were using in the IP scope. Now, as of this version of FastTrack, we have a command that's in the product now that's available to you, but it's not part of our wizard, is called Client IP Scope. Client IP Scope is actually what we're going to use because we're in a Citrix or a Microsoft RDS type situation. So I'm just going to go ahead and update this command to client. And now what it's going to do is it's going to check to see what is the client's IP, so that we're not picking the IP of the actual RDP session or the Citrix session. And that's how we'll differentiate. What will happen is because I've made this change, it's just going to drop this line down into our custom area, and let me just go show that to you real quick. So we're going to go back to edit this script, and you'll notice we're on the SmartConnect.fsh, we're not on pre-logon, and I have my printers menu, but you'll notice now my registry is blank and I have a custom script. And the reason for that is because I modified to in IP scope to in client IP scope. And just to show you real quick what I mean by that is when we were configuring the registry and I put in a value, my next option is to choose an AD condition. So these are the current AD conditions that are available in the wizard. One is in IP scope. In the next version we'll be releasing shortly will be computer must be in a client IP scope or related to an Citrix or Microsoft session. So you won't have to go into advanced mode anymore. You'll just be able to do it into the wizard. So because that's coming in our next release, I had to jump out into advanced mode. So I'm not going to configure any of that anymore. We're going to get this, and I'm going to show this running to you on some sample machines. So the first setup you're going to want to do for testing is just pick a user, whoever your test user is going to be, go into their profile and point them to ftlogon.exe. And then that way you can log that user on and off while you're doing your testing. When you're all done with that, we can switch over to group policies, and in group policies we're going to change the script area, and we're going to go into the logon process. And what we want to do is you may have something here right now. If you're already using FastTrack, this is what you would have. If you're using a different process, we just want you to go in and add, and what you're going to add is the same thing as you're going to point them to the netlogon folder and ftlogon.exe. At that point, everybody who logs on is going to get SmartConnect, and that will test for a reconnection of those clients and then do certain tasks that you tell it to do. So now we want to log on to a demo machine. We're going to go ahead and log this user on with an RDC. And this is the first time they've gone on. SmartConnect, if you remember, is going to test for a reconnection, which is not happening at this point because it's a first-time connection. And we'll go into this user, and this user won't have any printers mapped or anything like that. But because we did log on, we are running the SmartConnect engine, which is sitting right here waiting to test for a reconnection. So let's go ahead and disconnect this user, and then we're going to go on to a different machine, and we're going to connect them with a different location. I believe this is my lobby location. So we'll go ahead and log them on from the lobby. And what should happen at this point is it brings us back into our session. SmartConnect just detected that we've moved. So it's going to go ahead and say, pick your printers. So where are you at? Well, I'm in the lobby, so let's go ahead and install my lobby printers. And then it's going to come up and it's going to tell me you're currently at the lobby location because I moved. And if you remember, I also said in our SmartConnect that I wanted to put a desktop shortcut that would allow them to manually change printers if they wanted to. So they can just click this icon here, it'll bring up the menu and then they can choose their location. By the way, keep in mind that this gives you the ability to really do anything. It doesn't have to be about printers. It could be any type of automated tasks that you want to have happen in this environment, or you could just have it done automatically. So now what we're going to do is we're going to disconnect from this, and we're going to go back to our accounting floor. And what we want to have happen when we go back to our accounting floor is we want the SmartConnect to determine that we've just done a reconnect, so therefore you must need different printers. I'm going to say give me the accounting floor printers. So we're going to go in and check our printers, and we should have removed our 01 printer and put up our 100 printers, which is in the accounting department. So this is an example of how you can use SmartConnect technology to go ahead and test for a reconnection. And then once you have a reconnection, you can kick off our SmartConnect script, and you can pretty much do whatever automated tasks you want. We use the example of printers today and splash screens of location and registry settings, but you can program anything you want in that script, and we're here to assist with that through our support, which is available pre-sales and post-sales. Thanks for watching today, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to give us a call.